stronger than any storm. We get up, pick it up, all the pieces left behind. Clean it up, build it up, find a flag and raise it high. This is our home. This is our home. Shattered lives, scattered dreams, and everything we own. All that's left are memories, everything else gone.
Shortly after impact, an assessment was done. President Obama then gave this storm a presidential disaster declaration. What that did was activate the National Disaster Recovery Framework. It was the first time Arkansas had experienced it. Wayne Rickard was appointed the Federal Disaster Recovery Coordinator. What this new program set to do is to utilize other government agencies other than FEMA for specific disaster recovery. 2 recovery support functions out of the 10 possible were activated through this storm. They look at the greatest place of damage, and in our case it was the economy and the local communities. Charlie Cook was named coordinator for community planning and capacity building recovery support function, represented by FEMA. Josh Barnes led the economic recovery support function side with the Economic Development Administration. Their culminated work can be seen on my website, faulknerarresilience.org, under the support document button. There you can find everything we did on the storm. This recovery has truly been a tale of two cities. First, we're going to talk about Faulkner. As you may be aware, Joplin, Missouri was hit with a terrible tornado several years ago. Out of that came the Joplin Area CART. You can see their website here. Citizens Advisory Recovery Team. It was a grassroots organization that took the main reins on the recovery efforts. Well, the same thing kind of happened in Faulkner with Rebuild Faulkner. Their website here, founded by Marty Knight, a lifelong citizen of Faulkner who truly wanted to see Faulkner flourish for the better. Initially, my contract was to work with Mayor Firestone. Me and Marty would work hand in hand together. We both had bullish mentalities, and so we both wanted the best for Faulkner. We simply had different ideas on how to get there. On the other end of the spectrum was the city of Mayflower, led by Mayor Randy Howland. Mayor Randy Howland eats, sleeps, and breathes economic development. Unfortunately, the city is so small he cannot afford a full-time developer or staff. Randy got his education at the University of Arkansas's Community Development Institute, where he'll graduate this fall. You know about EDI, maybe, the Economic Development Institute. Well, the Community Development Institute is another national recognized designation program, specifically more focusing on community development, but also economic development. Randy didn't have a team. He'd set up a steering committee shortly after, but the chamber in this city had deactivated a long time ago. It never was a chamber. Nobody else was actively participating in economic development. In regards to community development, Mayflower is phenomenal at it. A lot of civic engagement in regards to events, yet when it comes to getting feedback and having their town participate, well, it was lackluster to say the least. Upon beginning this job, my first question that I needed to answer was, why aren't these economies growing? And that's why we're going to talk about some underlying issues. Both Faulkner and Mayflower are bedroom communities. As you can see here, they travel straight to Conway. Yet, their population is growing like a wildfire. Bologna's up over 80% in the past 10 years, 82.19 to be exact. This is a strong county. Even through the unemployment, as you can see here, despite the fact the unemployment rate is climbing, employment is climbing with it. Look at the industries, the location quotients. Business has been fleeing from Mayflower, for example, and look how bad the leakage is in Faulkner. 2 surplus industries, highly underserved, specifically in retail, 41% below the national average. You'd think this was an economic opportunity, and yet these communities weren't growing, specifically Faulkner. And to add to our puzzle, Valonia has a median income of over $60,000, making it the second richest community in central Arkansas behind Maumelle. This is really a head-scratcher. Valonia, though it's off the beaten path a little bit, is located in between two major travel corridors. Mayflower is situated just south of Conway on Interstate 40. We really were confused, and we knew something else had to be going on to keep businesses out of these towns.
Recovery plan.
This plan means they're thinking ahead, that the citizens understand that they can be more.
Devin Howland is a disaster recovery manager working for the city. His 15-year plan is all about setting the tone for moving forward. The details all come from public input and suggestions from FEMA, but the most outspoken have been from the children.
You know, the number one thing was Chick-fil-A.
Funny or not, Howland says all input is good input.
They want to be able to walk and shop and not have to, quote, not have to go to Conway on Friday night painting.
And Mayor Randy Howland is glad comprehensive plans are finally on the table.
The main thing is all of us being together and working for that plan, everyone from the senior citizens all the way to the student council.
It's that long-term thinking that Mayflower resident Adam Fuller is...
When I was asked to write the recovery plans, I could have written them on my own, but we really knew it wasn't going to stick if we did that. We tapped into local resources, and we'll talk about how we got the data for these plans in a minute. These plans were written with the recovery groups in both cities, the Rebuild Valonia and the Mayflower Recovery Council, which I stood up. The plans can be found on my website as well. They explain how to use them. But the beauty of these documents is they're 100% citizen-based. Nothing from me, nothing from the feds. This is the words of the citizens and a message to the city council. This plan got people excited. Yes, it looks cool, but it does so much more. Whether any of these projects get funded, what it did do was rally citizens around their wants. 4 basic sectors: housing, infrastructure and environment, economic development, school and community facilities encompass these plans. That was where we felt we found the most data from the feedback. We structured them around those. The plans go through identified projects that the citizens want to see happen, and we're currently working on implementing those right now. One of the things Mayflower did we didn't do in Valonia that I want to let you know that was the best thing we did was involve the student council. The youth have their own section of this plan. As the mayor said, everybody from the senior citizens to the student council was involved in writing this document. With the initial $300,000, we contracted with several partners. The first of which was the University of Arkansas Community Design Center, located in Fayetteville, Arkansas. They specialize in doing urban design, and we knew we wanted architectural renderings, but we did not want them to come in and do them blindly on their own. Rather, we had them base their designs off of the feedback we had gathered, which wrote the recovery plans, so the citizens could truly see their vision come to life. I'm going to show you a few clips here from Valonia's designs. You can see the full ones at the website. But what it really is focusing on walkability and that beautiful mesh between the public and private sector in regards to how they're each planning their development. Next, we came in and we focused on the codes. We'll talk about that in a second. This step 2 was so vital because it was literally the icing on top of the cupcake. Everybody got to see this, they got to touch it and say, I didn't realize our city could be that. And it really brought their wants and desires to fruition. It didn't make them reality, but that was the next step. Here, we're going to take a look at Mayflower in just a second. Mayflower was a huge conceptual challenge. Our architects really struggled with this, but that forced them to be extra creative. Mayflower, the site, was 400 feet at its widest point and a little over a mile long, wedged between Union Pacific Rail and an interstate, neither of which are going to move for us. So we had a very small space to work with. But what came out of it was the citizens really wanted walkability, those shops. They wanted their kids to be able to play. They wanted a place where their kids could feel like they could live here when they grow up, or they want to contribute to the workforce. Mayflower's designs and a digital fly-through movie are also on the website. This was a little bit different of a software they used, but the impact was the same. This really got the citizens fired up, so much to the extent that we're erecting an EDO here instead of a new chamber built of private citizens who want to make this a reality. From local developers to city council and the planning commission, everybody almost is on board to make this fruition. The beauty of these designs, we didn't move a single building that was existing. We previously mentioned that the designs UACDC did were based off of the recovery plans and the feedback we'd gotten. These codes and zones regulations that we did are based off of UACDC's design. This is a part of the Jumpstart Initiative. It was carried out by Gateway Planning and Metro Plan, a regional planning organization here in Arkansas. What this implementation strategy set to do was really the behind-the-scenes nerd stuff to make this happen. Form-based coding instead of use. Not used in Arkansas hardly at all. It provides live-work environments, that walkability, cohesive development. It actually gutted over 100 pages out of Mayflower's downtown regulations. It actually frees up the market a little bit, yet makes development more cohesive and gives the developer a little more room to grow, but also protects their investment. I think the biggest thing about this Jumpstart program was the primary infrastructure that was outlined inside of the implementation strategy. If the cities adopt the codes that are outlined, the form-based codes, instead of use, and show implementation and enforcement measures, the primary funding for the road infrastructure, as in the town square in Valonia and the new street in Mayflower, would be made available to them early next year. Mayflower is very close to adoption, as is Valonia. As economic and community development professionals, we have to realize that what we do is a lot of behind the scenes work. It's a pretty selfless job. You don't get many accolades. What we accomplished in 9 months was astounding. FEMA, EDA, a lot of people blown away by what was possible. And we've been asked, how did you do it? Why is it so successful and sticking here? I think the biggest thing you need to remember as you go about practicing economic or community development is these are people. You have to get to know them. We spent months early on getting to know these people, their lives, their children, their families, their wants, their dreams, their desires. They trust us. We literally wove ourselves into the fabric of the community. And if you don't, you're not going to succeed. I care about Valonia and Mayflower more than I care about Little Rock. I have a personal connection with them. And you almost have to. You have to be on their side. And when you come together, amazing things can happen. Right here you're seeing a design day from a grant we spent 9 months obtaining because the city of Valonia didn't have a park. Didn't have a park. And here it is completed after we did a community-wide build day. This is just a small example of the success that we had in building up community development. But how we focused on them, how we paid attention to them, with how we gathered the data and how we went about it was pretty incredible as well. Though we may be experts in the subject matter or professionals, we don't know more about their city than they do. What we did in these towns was, for lack of a better analogy, we were designing a car. But instead of designing a car and then saying, what do you like about it? What do you not like about it? We told the citizens, hey, we're going to design a car. You need to tell us exactly what you want. That approach is so different than what some do. Not saying that some don't take the citizens, you need to design this car approach, but they appreciated it. They were able to latch onto it. And they were able to say when we were done, hey, that's mine. The town hall events, we didn't talk to these people. We let them talk to us. We added value when we could, but it's so vital to let them initiate this. They're going to latch on better, and they're going to be their project champions for you, and the local champions that you're going to need to make these a reality. Every bit of data was compiled into an appendix. If a citizen wants to see their comment that they said, I really want a park at A Street and B Street, they'll find that in my appendix. We documented everything. We ensured that everybody's voice counted and every vote had a say.
we didn't just blindly do in some of the projects. And to be honest, as you'll see in Mayflower, some of them are kind of sporadic. Well, that's what they said, and we weren't going to tell them better. Again, when you're working with a community, they know it better than you do. All the data in the world cannot replace the knowledge that resides in those citizens that call that city home.
In closing, I wanted to mention a few more things. Opening communication channels is vital. It's amazing how these municipalities have no idea the resources and the partners in their backyard. This project and this endeavor was by far not simply CAPDD, EDA, and FEMA. So many others, from local foundations to university organizations, worked together to make this happen. You had two university economic development-based organizations, two competing universities working together, two regional planning entities in the same region, not supposed to work, working together to make this happen. As you go forward, those communication channels, let them be the first thing you look at. And look at what you have in your backyard. You'd be amazed. That $10 million number, that came from a lot of those partners, and we are indebted to them. But now we know for the future just what's possible when we come together. A little bit of background about me, I suppose. My name's Devin Howland. I'm 27 years old. I graduated from the University of Central Arkansas in 2011 with a political science degree from the man in the room showing you this video. I was about to drop out of college until I met Dr. Dooley, and he literally changed my life. He's been a huge mentor to me, and he's motivated me to really reach for the stars, and I'm indebted to that. You're lucky to be listening to this man. Outside of college, I got a job at the Institute for Economic Advancement, which ended up ultimately landing me in this storm. I had no idea that it would change my life how it would. I didn't want to work on this contract initially because I went from not doing that much to working extremely long hours, late nights, and really putting it in overdrive. Yet, that initial moment when you're faced with a door and you really don't want to go through it because it looked like it's going to be a pain, it can be so worth it. And in the case of these communities, this is by far the best thing I've ever done in my life. So I challenge you as you go forward. Think outside the box. You can break the rules. And in these communities, I was kind of the guy that said things that nobody would, and I still do to this day. And though that gets me in trouble sometimes, it's also appreciated because it's really opened up some of the underlying issues in both towns that no one really talks about. Every community has ugly babies. We have to address those if we're going to move forward. What we did here was build the foundation for community and economic development to flourish. This petri dish, which had no means of growing before, now can harvest a whole collection of development. Just be patient. Keep your eyes on the prize. And don't forget, look in your own backyard. You never know who's there to help. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed.